a video on making some bread gnocchi. So gnocchi using some stale bread. So I've got some. Well, it's not really stale bread. I've got some fresh bread and I've got some breadcrumbs. So I kind of thought, well, we'll use the breadcrumbs are from the Melba toast. You know, it's like all the bits of the Melba toast get left bottom in the container. So I had some of those. So it's like crust and things. So I've pureed them up and I've pureed up some fresh bread as well. So it will be, it'll kind of like probably have the right kind of water content of stale bread. So it was about 80 grams worth of dry breadcrumbs and 120 grams worth of fresh bread. I didn't use, with the fresh bread, I didn't use the crusts, but obviously there's some crusts in with the dry bread, so it's kind of that colour. So ideally I would have liked to just used not the crusts, but here we are. So about 200 grams, and I pured it down, food processed it down to like a fine breadcrumb, and then we've got an egg, and then we've got, we don't want that in there, do we? That's like a burnt bit of bread. And then we want an egg in here. I'm not going to whisk it, I'm just going to use the, we're going to be kneading it anyway, so I've got somewhere safe so it's not going to make a mess. We're going to knead it anyway, so do I really need to whisk the egg? No. And then we've got 50 grams worth of flour. I'm not going to add any salt, I don't think. I was listening to something and someone was talking about not adding, oh, we could do some milk as well, but we'll see how much this mixes in first. Someone was talking about not adding salt to pasta because it turns it black, and I kind of thought, that kind of makes sense. And I wonder if that's the same for. So I made some hash browns, and they went a bit sticky when I tried to cook with them the next day, and I kind of thought, oh well, maybe that's because of the salt. And then I thought the same with gnocchi, that you kind of have to make it and cook it straight away, and I kind of thought, well, maybe it's the salt that makes all those things happen. So maybe the bread, maybe the milk was just to soften the stale bread. But I'm just going to add the milk, and then we'll mix it around and see if we can form a bit of a dough and see how it turns out. It's not looking very appetizing. It's coming together. And we might just give it a bit of a knead on the board, and we'll give it a taste. See what we think about it. But I made some gnocchi with just flour and water, and they were just soft. I mean, I've heard people describe gnocchi tasting like slugs anyway, and I kind of thought these flour gnocchis that I made, it was just like little slugs, you know, just soft and not very nice. So I'll give it a bit of a knead. Let's see what happens. It's holding its shape. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be quite dense, and maybe me not. Let's use a third of that. And me not overworking it too much would probably be a good thing. Although, yeah, I think I probably would have preferred to have used just the heart of the bread and not the crust, but not to worry. Not to worry. Now, do we need a bit of flour? Just to make it all. And then we'll shape it and see what it looks like. That's not a bad sausage, is it? I need a fork as well. I need a fork as well, so. See, if this isn't a success, I don't think it's going to be a success. I think what we'll do is I made some bread dumplings, so I think we'll have a faff around with that recipe if we're going to be making gnocchi, or we'll just buy some more bread and have another go. But I think that. And we've got some beef, leftover beef ragu. The ragu made from the scrap beef from some roast beef from the weekend. So instead of just me thinking, well, I'll just freeze that and use it another day, we can actually use that on the gnocchi, can't we? So yeah, the freezer becomes a bit of a dumping ground. And I think it just gets full up with stuff, and then you end up, mind you, then you get to go through the freezer and see what there is. There's all kinds of delights in there, isn't there? You know, some meatballs and a bit of ragu and a bit of this and a bit of tomato sauce, and you can combine them all to make a meal. Maybe we should have rested that. Might need more liquid. But we can do that, can't we? Let's take some of it and add some more liquid and see what happens. So that's half of that. Let's see if it absorbs any more. Let's see what happens to it. Because we want them soft. So maybe adding more milk and then drying it out with flour would have been a good idea. It's a softer mixture, isn't it? We do want it soft. I think that's going to be better. I think we probably should have added more milk. Yeah, we should have had more milk. Let's put that back in there. We'll keep those just in case. But that needs more milk. I've made a mess of my hands. See, it's going to toughen up over time as well. We've added liquid. So liquid's going to take a little bit of time to completely mix into the dry ingredients. Which is what, so when you're making bread and you're kneading for, you knead for 10 minutes with bread. But what you're best off doing is mixing all the ingredients together, all the wet and dry ingredients together first, leaving it for an hour, and then kneading after the hour, and you get a much better dough because the flour has had time to soak up all the liquid, and that way you can actually get more liquid into it as well. So it's a little bit sticky, is that? But that's probably not a bad thing. So it doesn't need any more flour added to it. That feels softer. You want them soft, but you don't want them with the texture of slugs. Who was it that said? Was I doing one of my friend's birthdays, and she wanted me to go in and do a bit of a cookery demonstration for her and her friends, which I was a bit nervous to do. And rightly so, because 20 slightly drunk women in their 30s is not as fun as you would think it would be at all. I mean, they talk about men being badly behaved, but oof, shocking behaviour. But anyway, it was an interesting experience. I didn't charge them because it was a learning type of thing. Yeah, so there's a lighter. I'm just going to add in more milk. That's the second batch. That's that. It's nice and softish. Let's add a bit more milk and see what happens. And this is why my videos are too long. But are they really? If you want in recipes how to make things quickly, my videos are not for you. My videos are mostly me faffing around with things and thinking my way through things. See, that's softer, but it's going to be difficult to work with. So then we have to add more flour to the board, so that kind of defeats the object, doesn't it? Although I have heard that gnocchi should almost be falling to bits, like a violin. So the best sounding violins are on the verge of breaking up. So they're not like strong and rigid violins. They're kind of like it wouldn't take much to break one. That's what I heard anyway. Well, those are much softer. Which is kind of what you want. Is it chestnut? No, it's chestnut polenta I'm thinking of. I think if there's a chestnut gnocchi, there probably is. But I was thinking about chestnut polenta. That these reminded me of. Or maybe it was marron glacé. Yes, because you would want me to, because you would. Not that dissimilar from something that you would coat in chocolate. That's in better. But we'll see, won't we? We'll see when we get. I'm gonna leave them for a bit. It's cold enough outside in the garage, so we'll leave them in the garage. And we're gonna see what happens to those after an hour. But see, they feel even nicer than. They're too heavy. They're too heavy. But we'll cook those when we get in, and then we'll give those a go. But we'll kind of think we want them to be as soft as possible. But anyway, I'm a bit of a mess, and we'll be back when I'm going to cook them. So, I've done a quick calculation, and I've weighed those gnocchis, and there's about 425 grams there. So, what's that? So, the quite large eggs are probably about 60 grams, 50 grams worth of flour, 200 grams worth of bread. So what else went in there? And then milk. So, and there's a little bit of extra flour for the dusting. But maybe we're putting 100 grams worth of milk. But 100 grams worth of milk, not throughout it all. Kind of like those that I've just put in have had more milk in. So, but I was kind of thinking while I was swimming that we'll probably scrap all of those and mix it all back together, and we'll probably grate in some cheese and see how that turns out. So they're in salted water. They're not sticking, so that's fine. But I think if we add some more cheese, we'll weigh how much cheese I put in, and then put some more milk in to kind of take it to the absolute maximum of the amount of milk that we can get away with, so they are as soft as possible. I don't want them tasting like slugs, but I want them nice and soft. We'll see if these float. They should float when they're cooked. But I've got nothing to say. So we're back when those float to the top. Right, so they are floating, so let's just have a look at them. They're puffed up a bit. Yeah, I think I would have preferred it just the white part of the bread, no crust, because I just don't think those. I was feeling it's like using wholemeal flour and things, isn't it? Let's be honest, we all like we much prefer white bread. We're just kidding ourselves, aren't we? So, how do they taste? Alright. But let's add some more cheese and milk. So there's 50 grams worth of hard Italian cheese there. So let's just get the milk at the ready, and yeah, we'll be able to wait. So we'll mix it around first. That's loads. That's far too much cheese, isn't it? That's far too much cheese. You'll be fine. We'll just mix it around. Probably mixing it is going to cause it to be. You're supposed to not knead it as little as possible, otherwise you make them hard. But so a bit more milk and probably a bit more flour as well. Then yeah. So I'll do that off camera, but we'll mix that, get it all combined. Probably would have been better done at the start, but we live and learn, don't we? Right, so 50 grams worth of cheese and 50 grams worth of milk. So they're probably going to be a bit tough and a little bit uneven because there was different types of gnocchis in there. So this isn't all of it. It's quite soft though, so we should be okay. And then get that temperature back up. Yeah, I can feel that that's a lump of different type of gnocchi there. So that the ones that were like the first ones that were too hard. So we'll just have to taste a couple, just so we get ones that are properly mixed together. But it seemed like a healthy amount of cheese, didn't it? Well, not particularly a healthy amount of cheese, because nothing in excess is particularly healthy for you, is it? So yeah, I can tell that I haven't mixed this properly, but we've done it properly from the start. But we'll get the recipe in the end, won't we? But not that, you know, not that much of a relatively quick dinner, isn't it? As long as you've got the other things together. So those in there, like that. And we'll roll a bit more out, so I'm going to eat it all because I'm hungry. So we'll be back when those, I'll mix that a bit better. So that'll be the first batch, and we'll be back when they start floating to the top. Right, so those are floating. Take them out and then put the next batch in while I'm tasting them. But I tasted a little bit of the raw gnocchi. It was very cheesy, so I think these are going to be very nice. Well, I think the cheese will make them nice. Those out and then these in. I would taste them and not have these be putting these in, but I'll pause the video. But you know, I'd much rather get those in and get them cooking ready for my dinner than pause the video. So how do these taste? Much nicer with cheese in. I think we probably could have got away with 100 grams worth of cheese and made them really cheesy. Not bad, not bad. I think certainly would have been better with just the white part of the bread, you know, but it just tastes like wholemeal bread when you put the crust in. So, you know, not bad actually. For something that's I've generally got around the house. So I've generally got either some bread in the freezer, some good quality bread, or some stale bread, or some dried out bread, and an egg, and there's normally some kind of sauce kicking about, or some soup. So not bad for a cheap dinner. I don't think I couldn't serve them in a restaurant or at a function. You know, they're not, people wouldn't go for them. But for me, and for anyone coming around to my house for dinner, you might get served something like that. If you're lucky enough to get invited around for dinner. And if you do, just offer to do the washing up. You don't have to, but just offer to do the washing up. I always kind of think, probably won't let you do the washing up, as you're my guest, but I was kind of think you should offer, shouldn't you? Oh, look like they're just spoiling apart. Maybe some of the straggly edges. But anyway, so it's alright. Not a huge success, but a success in some